Good evening and welcome. Tonight, Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi woos voters in Lokoja, Kogi State, vows to unite and secure the nation and increase in minimum wage with emphasis on production. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar takes his campaign to Jos, promises to ensure peace and returns to the state if he's elected in 2023. My administration will tackle banditry and kidnapping, APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu declares during a rally in Kaduna State. History is made as the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters inducts the first batch of its members in Lagos.
And on business news, foreign direct investment in Nigeria plunges by over 58% in 11 years. That's according to reports from the World Bank.
And on sports news tonight, Argentina beat 2018 runners-up Croatia 3-0 to advance to the final of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar.
And in international news from London, 6 people, including 2 police officers, have been fatally shot after a suspected ambush at a remote Australian property.
The political atmosphere is getting charged by the day as the various candidates continue to tour various parts of the country to woo voters. We begin with the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who maintains his mantra of moving the country from a consuming to producing nation. Peter Obi stated this at the Confluence Stadium in Lokoja while delivering his address during the rally, where he also vowed to secure the country. He noted that his administration, if given the opportunity, will make sure the production starts from local level, which will increase minimum wage, since the minimum wage today can hardly sustain workers.
What we are going to do, number one job is to secure Nigeria. We want to make Nigeria safe. We want to be able to unite Nigeria. Nigerians today are not living as a family. We want to bring the family back. We want to secure Nigeria. We want to make sure that in Nigeria there's rule of law. You are not harassed. Nobody will harass you. Nobody will do what is wrong to you. If there's anything, you will go by the rule of law. That is what we want to do in Nigeria. We want to make sure that we will remove Nigeria from consumption to production. When the TUC former president was talking to you, he told you about minimum wage. We will ensure that minimum wage that is today and those who are being owed, we will work with the states and local governments to clear their standing. We will make sure that we work with them, and when we start production, we will start thinking about how to continue to increase the minimum wage.
Against the backdrop of incessant attacks and violence in Plateau State, the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, is promising to ensure restoration of peace and revamping of the state's economy if elected in 2023. Addressing a crowd of party supporters during the presidential rally at Rangpam Stadium in Jos, Mr. Abubakar also gave the assurance that his administration will give attention to development of road networks in the state. In attendance at the campaign were the PDP vice presidential candidates, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, and the party's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, among other party bigwigs.
And all all the tribes and all the peoples that you want.
The Ruang Palm Stadium in Jos, the Plateau State capital, comes alive with supporters of the People's Democratic Party gathered in large numbers for the party's presidential campaign rally. The PDP national chairman, members of the Presidential Campaign Council, and the directorate of the Atiku campaign organization arrived at the venue, followed by the presidential candidate, Mr. Atiku Abubakar. Addressing the crowd, the PDP leadership and members of the Presidential Campaign Council urged the people to vote for Mr. Abubakar and all PDP candidates in Plateau State.
This is the party that is going to rebuild Plateau, that is going to reconstruct Nigeria. And I want the state where PDP started to vote the highest number of votes. I don't want you to be number 2. The highest percentage of votes should come from here in Plateau State, which is my home state.
There is so much hunger, and we know that Atiku Abubakar will turn things around in Nigeria, and hunger will be no more in this country. And we know that our youths, after finishing school, they are not able to get employment. But Atiku Abubakar is going to turn things around. He's going to tell you how he's going to do it.
For Mr. Abubakar, tackling the insecurity on the plateau is of a priority to his government.
We have promised that we will restore peace in this state. We will also revamp the economy of this state. We will also make sure this state is connected to the neighboring states as far as road infrastructures are concerned. APC has neglected all the roads connecting Plateau with other states in the country. We promise, because you are a PDP state, we promise we will make sure these roads are rehabilitated. We will revamp the economy. We will bring about peace and prosperity, particularly to our young men and women.
Mr. Abubakar is hoping that the people of Plateau State will give him their votes during the 2023 presidential polls. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
While the PDP campaign was holding its rally in Jos, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, was in another part of the north, in Kaduna State, where he also reeled out similar promises. Speaking at the Northwest flag-off of the APC presidential campaign at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium in the state capital, the former Lagos State governor vowed to eliminate bandits and kidnappers if voted into office next year. Before today's rally, Mr. Tinubu visited Birnin Gwari local government area, one of the epicenters of banditry in Kaduna State.
We want, let's go see. Everybody vote for Jagaban.
The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, arrives at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium in Kaduna, where a large crowd of supporters have already taken their seats awaiting his arrival. He's accompanied by his running mate, Kashim Shettima, 7 APC governors, the national chairman of the party, Abdullahi Adamu, members of the National Working Committee, past and serving National Assembly members, and APC governorship candidates from the Northwest zones, among others. Governor Nasir El-Rufai and his Plateau State counterpart, Simon Lalong, say the large turnout of party members and supporters of the rally is affirmation of their total support for Bola Tinubu.
What we have seen here, we are satisfied. Northwest has done well, Kaduna has done well. We've set a new standard. And I'm very grateful to all of you.
On his part, the APC presidential candidate promises to tackle the challenges of banditry, kidnapping, and all forms of criminality that have ravaged Kaduna State and the Northwest Zone over the years. He also says education, as well as the other sectors, will be given due attention if he is elected into office come 2023.
All those troublemakers, violent kidnappers, killers, all troublemakers who who had crossed the security of Kaduna, I assure you, we will eliminate them. Every one of you, go home with determination. Check your PVC.
Next, the national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Adamu, presents the party's flag to the Kaduna State APC governorship candidate, Uba Sani, who receives it on behalf of the 7 governorship candidates from the northwest states.
Everybody vote for Jagaban. Jagaban. Everybody vote for Jagaban.
The APC national chairman and the party's vice presidential candidate, Senator Kashim Shettima, addressed the gathering in Hausa, and they appealed to the people to vote for Bola Tinubu and other APC candidates across board. The APC presidential candidate believes that he is the best man for the job, and with a large crowd at this rally, he is confident his victory is assured in Kaduna and the entire Northwest Zone come 2023. Nigeria is going through a challenging period. It will take deliberate efforts by leaders of proven integrity to lead the nation on the right path. That's according to the former chief executive officer of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Professor Anya Anya, who was speaking at the Nigerian Prize for Leadership Investiture in Abuja. Professor Anya explains that while the huge leadership deficit in the country calls for concern, young Nigerians determined to change the narrative should be mentored towards changing the status quo.
Members of the board of the Nigeria Prize for Leadership make their way into the hall for the investiture ceremony.
Your Excellency is very distinguished.
This is the third in the series to recognize and honor the role of leaders who are change makers in the country.
The selection committee was made up of men and women from various parts of the Federal Republic of Nigeria who have distinguished themselves in various areas of service and who are men and women of integrity and honor.
Some of the parameters used in assessing the role of Nigerians who have distinguished themselves as leaders includes creativity and innovation, vision, charisma, integrity, and transparency. Some experts here suggest that the day be set aside to celebrate leaders who exemplify outstanding qualities.
Since 2020, we have set aside the 12th of December each year to call attention to the importance of effective leadership in building our nation. This is the third edition of this initiative, and we can confirm that the value has been significant. We will explore going forward on how we may escalate these modest efforts into a national movement that will in time redefine Nigeria as a symbol of right values, honesty, and integrity.
And after the remarks, it's time for the investiture ceremony. The investiture is conferred on Professor Suleiman Bogoro, the former executive secretary of the Tertiary Education Fund. Professor Bogoro commends the organizers and calls for increased funding for research and development.
Today, the NRF of TED Fund is holding the largest research grant in Nigeria. In the year 2019, up to that time, before I was reinstated by Mr. President upon recommendation of the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, TED Fund had 4 billion naira spread over 8 years for the NRF. That comes to arithmetically 500 million per annum. In the year 2019, NRF grant will be 5 billion instead of 500 million.
17 young Nigerians were conferred as fellows of the Nigerian Prize for Leadership. This exercise is to inspire quality leadership in the country and position the successor generations to strive for excellence in leadership, both in the public and the private sectors.
In part two, after the break, EFCC continues auctioning of assets forfeited to the federal government in the nation's capital, Abuja, Edo, and in River State. And that's all in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us to watch the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi woos voters in Lokoja, Kogi State, vows to unite and secure the nation and increase minimum wage with emphasis on production. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar takes his campaign to Jos, promises to ensure peace returns to Plateau State if elected in 2023. My administration will tackle banditry and kidnapping, APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu declares during a rally in Kaduna. History is made as the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters inducts the first batch of its members in Lagos. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has commenced the auctioning of cars which were proceeds of crime forfeited to the federal government after the successful prosecution of the culprits. The auction, which started with an inspection on Monday, saw a huge crowd of prospective buyers who flocked to the EFCC office in Abuja today to bid for the vehicles. The commission told journalists that 35 cars were up for purchase and the proceeds will be paid into a special federal government account domiciled with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
A large crowd of prospective bidders troop into the premises of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in Abuja, where the commission is auctioning vehicles that are proceeds of crime, which the government has secured their final forfeiture. Inside the premises, the vehicles are displayed in pictures to enable bidders make their choices. 35 vehicles, including some luxury cars and buses, are on display for auction, and the proceeds will be deposited in a special federal government account.
We have a form where you fill, and then due process is being conducted, in terms of you have details of the person buying. Every vehicle is finally forfeited to the federal government. So there's an account at the CBN, a treasury account where the monies are transferred to.
The auction begins with the registration of prospective bidders who are then assigned to designated bidding points within the premises.
When you come in, you stay on the line, you are registered and you are given a number. And this is the number that qualifies you to bid. So when the bidding process starts, and you have this number, then you can bid for any car or any property of your choice.
Are you registered? What's your name? What's your name? What's your bid?
About 3 hours into the registration, the auctioning commences. An overwhelming crowd of bidders scrambling for 35 cars will no doubt be a difficult task.
How can 3,000 people go for 32 cars? How can you manage them? 3,000 people, look at human being, 3,000, they are here for 32 cars. How can you manage them?
The last speaker was not working. Somebody started saying 1 million, before 7 million. Somebody now who said 8.5. And they now bring back for somebody who said 7 million. Which is wrong. That's not how to do auction. And all these things, we are doing it blindly because some of them don't even see the car we are buying.
Last week, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission auctioned over 400 vehicles in Lagos. The commission says apart from the vehicles, other proceeds of crime that have been forfeited to the federal government will also be auctioned in line with the country's Proceeds of Crime Recovery Management Act of 2022.
Was a similar scene in Port Harcourt's zonal office where the EFCC also auctioned vehicles forfeited to the federal government by the courts, a sale which held within the premises of the Police Officers' Wives Association in the River State capital, and some of the city's residents bidding for the items. Also in Benin City, the Edo State capital, the EFCC auctioned 20 vehicles following a bidding that took place today after the prospective buyers inspected them. The organizers explained that the vehicles could not be presented physically at the auction site for security reasons. We're off to the lawmakers now in the National Assembly. The Senate is pushing forward with two critical amendments to the EFCC Act. The aim is to restrict non-trained staff from headship of the commission and to ensure that the appointment and removal of the EFCC chairman are subject to the confirmation of the Senate. According to the sponsor of the bill, Senator Chukwuka Utazi, the amendments are expected to promote optimal performance by the Commission and enhance professionalism.
It is a simple amendment of two sections of the EFCC Establishment Act of 2004, which is intended to bring about a fundamental impact on the professionalization of the Commission and guarantee the safety and security of tenure for the headship of the Commission. All that is required of this Parliament is to endorse this executive action by amending the EFCC Establishment Act to restrict non-trained EFCC staff from headship of the Commission going forward. This will enhance professionalism in the service of this anti-graft agency. Second, in the thrust of this amendment is the issue of security of tenure for the executive chairman of the Commission. Therefore, in this proposed amendment, it is intended to bring EFCC in conformity with the other two anti-graft agencies of government. This will engender optimal performance of the Commission, performance by the Commission of the very important mandate assigned to it.
Staying with the Senate, lawmakers have postponed the debate on the CBN cash withdrawal policy until tomorrow, Wednesday, December 14, owing to the absence of the chairman of the Committee on Banking and Finance, Senator Sani Uba Sani, beg your pardon. However, a lawmaker, Senator Adamu Bukachua, expressed reservations about the postponement, but President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, moved to address his concerns.
We shouldn't allow this thing to be swept under the carpet. It's a very serious issue. Nigerians are waiting to hear exactly what the National Assembly will do. The House of Representatives have asked the governor of the central bank to stay action on this, but he, as usual, in his typical character, he is being stubborn. And I think delaying it until tomorrow is giving him another chance. And we don't want to hear another excuse. So I urge this Senate to discuss this in today and now.
I don't think it's fair to say that we are sweeping this thing under the carpet. It's not fair to say that, because my understanding of sweeping something under the carpet is to avoid it. Nobody here suggests by any action or inaction that we are sweeping or avoiding discussing this thing. I think it's appropriate that we give our colleague, the chairman of the committee, the opportunity to come and present. When he presents the reports, we'll be better informed. Then we can take the next appropriate action.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in the lower chamber have called on the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, to, within the next 1 week, end the artificial scarcity of petroleum products, especially the premium motor spirit in the country. Following a motion by Mr. Saidu Abdullahi, members unanimously adopted the motion, saying the situation has further grounded economic activities due to no specific reason. The House worries that if the situation continues, there will be unbearable hardship to constituents this festive season, as the price of goods and services will skyrocket.
Nigerians have been subjected to untold hardships caused by the lingering petrol scarcity, affecting economic activities and making the already trying times in the country more difficult. Further note that the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority advanced excuses to justify the first scarcity. Firstly, when the scarcity reared its ugly head at the peak of the rainy season in October this year, the agency said the fuel scarcity in Abuja and other northern states was caused by rainfall, which submerged the greater part of Lokoja, including the highway leading to Abuja, a development that grounded all vehicular movement along that route. Aware that soon after floods and rains receded in Lokoja and the petrol scarcity continued, the president of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria said the situation has continued to persist because of the supply gap created by the blockade of Lokoja. The IPMAN affirmed that there was enough product in the depot and that the lingering scarcity was only caused by the break in supply of the product. Further aware that when the scarcity continued, and all the excuses advanced by the stakeholders watered down, the National Operations Controller of IPMA advanced another reason and argued that the scarcity is because of an unsteady supply of the product. Concerned that intelligence reports on current fuel scarcity gathered by our securities agencies indicated that there is a deliberate plan by some oil marketers to derail the effort of the government in the distribution of fuel in the country by hoarding the petroleum products and thereby creating artificial scarcity all over the country.
History was made today as the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters inducted its first batch of members in Lagos. The event, which was held in the amphitheater at Channels Television's global headquarters, had veterans in the profession, including former Nigerian Television Authority Directors General, Mr. Vincent Maduka and Mr. Shingle Wigwe, and inductees from across broadcast platforms. Giving his keynote speech of the induction, the chairman, Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, painted a picture of the changing media landscape in light of digital transformation and challenged players in the industry to adapt. Other veterans also praised the emergence of the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters, saying it's an idea whose time has come. Our correspondent, Dari Dowu, reports.
Legends, familiar faces in the industry, those who have shaped media practice in the country are in the room.
On behalf of the patron and the steering committee,
it's a blend of different generations of broadcast journalists brought together by the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters, also known as SNB.
Out of the four that registered SNB in 1994, only two.
For many years after the idea of the society was conceived, it never saw the light of day. But according to Dr. Yemisi Bangboshe, this induction means SNB has taken off officially.
What we are doing today is building on solid foundation laid by our progenitors. A functional SNB, however, will help in no small way to professionalize the practice of broadcasting, serve as the advocacy body for the practitioners, and bridge the gap between the old and new practitioners.
The veterans in the auditorium weighing on the critical issue of maintaining standards. They also provide answers to the question of who should regulate the broadcasting profession.
We should consider a situation in which the regulation of the practice, regulation of the profession of broadcasting is in the hands of broadcasters themselves. That is called self-regulation.
The fact that we're going to establish an institute for training broadcasters, it becomes very essential that broadcasters are trained. It becomes very essential because it is important that when we have broadcasters, there is a way you have to judge broadcasters, somebody who is fit to be in that place and broadcasting.
The spectrum is overcrowded with too many radio and television stations that nobody is thinking of viability at all. By the way I live, there are 40 stations. Yeah, the population can support it, but the economy cannot. And so you have so many stations now looking for buyers because they are unable to economically run the station.
And the keynote speaker is none other than the chairman of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo. He speaks on challenges, prospects, and professionalism in the media space.
It is obvious that the digital age has led to massive disruption in its sector of the business. And as a result of these changes, content creators are one step closer to the audiences, which now wield greater power in determining what is served by the media. Responsible journalism entails that whatever facts and figures are gathered are cross-checked, double-checked, triple-checked, and reconfirmed before presenting such to the public for consumption. Remember, any misinformation by the media is always difficult to retrieve, and effects could be devastating. So let's place the interest of the citizens above that of the politicians. Let us live true to our role as the watchdog of the society and shun all rhetorics that are divisive and offensive in nature.
At this point, I'd like to invite Alhaji Lekun Ajia to join us here. The event breaks into a panel discussion, and the panelists share their thoughts on various issues affecting the media practice in the country.
Who has been protecting the broadcasters? I will say nobody.
Professionalism means meeting the standards that matter, which is what I think SNB is all about, to set the standard. The conventional mass media have also had to embrace this new digital media. So if you can't beat them, you join them.
Your name? Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Next, inductees take the sworn statement on oath, promising to uphold and protect the interest of the society.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And if you are freely sworn, please insert your name, today's date, and sign.
The presentation of certificates to the inductees marks the end of the first major step of the society that seeks to, among other things, coordinate, set standards, and admit all professional broadcasters in the country. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
Congratulations to all the inductees. Drug abuse, especially among young people in the Niger Delta, is now a cause of concern for the Niger Delta Development Commission, which has commenced a campaign against the menace in secondary schools across the region. The NDDC Acting Managing Director, Emmanuel Audu Habura, explained that the campaign against social vices is to sustain the peace in the Niger Delta by educating youths on the dangers of cultism and drug abuse. The NDDC boss was speaking during separate sensitization campaigns in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital, and in Port Harcourt in Rivers State.
In keeping with its mandate on human capital development and ensuring sanity in the region, the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, is on this fresh sensitization campaign against drug abuse, cultism, and other social vices among students in the region.
You don't like yourself. You don't believe in yourself.
The goal of the commission is that these students selected from secondary schools across Bayelsa and Rivers states will become ambassadors of anti-cultism and drug abuse in their respective schools.
There's a strong correlation between drugs and cultism. You saw that most members of one cult or the other are people that take drugs. Because it's believed that maybe the drugs will make them high. There are some things you might not ordinarily do. But the moment you become high, you probably don't even know yourself again. And you'll be indulging in all these kinds of dangerous activities.
At a separate campaign in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, the NDDC boss, who was also represented by the director in charge of human resources, says the campaign will curb drug abuse and restore sanity to the youths of the Niger Delta region.
The NDDC has taken it very, very seriously to ensure that we enlighten our youth to refrain from getting indulged into drugs. For the students, I've already told you, don't join a bad gang because your future is involved. The type of illicit drugs, we have so many.
An official of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency takes the students through the trends in drug abuse and the need to avoid illicit and unprescribed drugs.
The drugs we are talking about is 3 types. We are talking about illegal drugs, which are illicit. If they say, come and smoke this leaf, it will give you wisdom. You don't need anything to have wisdom. Wisdom is from above. You have to present.
The students were handed educational materials, including electronic tablets and bags, while one of them speaks on the impact of the program.
I would tell them what I learned here, that it is not good, and they are planning to be leaders. They are planning to be big men and women. They should not take these drugs so that they will be what they want to be, and their parents will be proud of them, and the society also.
Besides warning about the dangers of cultism and drug abuse, outreaches like this are targeted at the young and impressionable minds and geared towards ending social vices and ensuring peace in the Niger Delta region.
In Adamawa State, now where Governor Umaru Fintiri has announced an upward review of the annual bursaries for the state's indigent students by 50%, directing the scholarship board to carry out the review with immediate effect. The governor made the announcement at the 14th convocation ceremony of the Adamawa State University, MUBI. Some 2,594 graduates and postgraduates bagged degrees from the tertiary institution.
The Adamawa State University, established 20 years ago, holds its 14th convocation, and the state governor, Umaru Fintiri, joins the graduates in a procession into the convocation ground where the university community attends the event.
Leading the Forest Senate procession is the academic secretary of the university.
In his welcome address, the Pro-Chancellor commends the contributions of partners, including the Adamawa State Governor Fintiri, TED Fund, and the Northeast Development Commission, just as its Chancellor, the Emir of Pindiga, applauds the selection of the school's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Kalatapwa Farauta, as running mate to Governor Fintiri in the 2023 elections.
Let me use this occasion to congratulate the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Kalatapwa George Farauta, on her worthy selection as already made to the fresh air governor of Adamawa State, Right Honorable Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri. I strongly believe that the view of you will continue to the good work that you are both known for in Adamawa State.
The ongoing expansion in the university will require recruitment of high-quality persons, as well as new graduates who will be groomed from graduate assistants into world-class academic staff. This is therefore an opportunity for our graduates who have distinguished themselves in their courses of study to take advantage of.
Governor Fintiri congratulates the university for this achievement, urging it to remain focused.
I must commend the university for upholding the culture of academic progress through diligent research and teaching. I'm particularly happy to note that there is a commensurate reward for hard work in the university.
The governor also announced an upward review of the annual bursaries for the state's indigent students by 50%, directing the scholarship board to implement with immediate effect.
Considering the economic situation in the country, which has been worsened by the effect of COVID-19 on the household, I want to announce an upward review of the annual bursaries, popularly known as scholarship, to our indigent students with 50% increment.
Now that the convocation ceremony is done, it's over 2,500 graduates who will be looking to make their mark as new entrepreneurs, potential employees, and employers of labor in the society.
Let's segue to business news now. Here's Will Ibon.
Thanks, Amarachi. Now, latest report from the World Bank says foreign direct investment, that's FDI, in Nigeria has plunged by 58.98% in 11 years. According to its annual report tagged International Debt Report, the Washington-based finance institution says the FDI depreciated to $2.44 billion in 2021, down from $5.96 billion recorded in 2010. Meanwhile, recent data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that foreign direct investment in Nigeria dropped by $325.82 million within the last 2 years. Now, Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo has signed the 2023 appropriation bill into law. The budget size, which is approximately 260 billion naira, is tagged a budget of acceleration, and according to the governor, it will touch on 5 key priority areas, with human resource capital being the most important.
In the 5 buckets, we're hitting all of them simultaneously. That's law, security, law, and order. assuming that you're getting onto your massive economic transformation, including the issues of infrastructure, power, and technology, and all of that. And then, of course, our industrial parks and agriculture and various commerce industries, right, and so on and so forth. Then, part C, the social agenda, economic, health, education, and tackling the vulnerable groups, and trying to leave no one behind. Our overall agenda is to make Anambra livable and prosperous.
Nigeria, Ghana has reached a staff-level agreement with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, for a 3-year, $3 billion loan package as the country battles its worst economic crisis in a generation. According to the IMF's mission chief for Ghana, Stefan Rude, the fund will only approve the loan package if Ghana undergoes a comprehensive debt restructuring. Meanwhile, Ghana's finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, says the government is ready to complete the actions required in order to obtain the loan approval early next year. In July, Ghana asked the IMF for help after widespread street protests over spiraling inflation, currency depreciation, and other economic woes. Back home, the equities market made a U-turn into negative territory as investors took profit in large-cap MTN Nigeria. Here's Laddie Williams with the details.
Hello and welcome to the stock market report. Well, we have the first negative close for the week. And it's also marked like what we had, yesterday. The gain we had yesterday is down 0.09%, 48,853.54. I thought we were heading to that 50K level, but we've moved further away from it at this time. Market cap, 26.60 trillion naira. Let's look at the activity chart there. We see it's just value there in the green, 3.87 billion naira, more than we had yesterday, but we see the volume less there, 162.9 million units of stocks traded, valued at 3.87 billion naira. Let's look at the top gainers counter now. We see Cornerstone topping that counter, closing at 50 kobo, up 8.70%. We see BOA there, 95 naira. Wasn't enough to put the close in the green today. FTN Cocoa Processors, they're up 3.23%. Let's look at the losers counter. We see SCAR there, topping that counter, down 9.30%. So the decline we see today is due to MTN Nigeria. They're losing about 7 naira, down 3.26%, joining 15 other losers against 12 gainers. So we see that negative market breadth. And that's a stock market report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
And that's it on Business News. It's back to Amarachi for the rest of the news.
Thanks a lot. Well, on the foreign scene, the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa survived an impeachment vote today after members of parliament voted to reject a move to begin impeachment proceedings against him. The president was accused of covering up the theft of a large sum of foreign currency from his farm in 2020, some of which had been hidden in a sofa. The African National Congress told MPs to block a possible impeachment, although a handful broke ranks and sided with opposition parties and voted to accept the report and let impeachment proceedings begin. Simon Pusey has more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. 6 people, including 2 police officers, have been fatally shot after a suspected ambush at a remote Australian property. Police said they had been searching for a missing person in Wyambila, 270 kilometres west of Brisbane, when they were fired upon. After a lengthy siege, 3 suspects were fatally shot by police. Authorities say a motive remains unclear. 4 police officers initially went to the property after a request from New South Wales Police. 2 were shot dead as they approached the property. Another officer suffered a bullet graze and the 4th escaped without physical injury.
To lose 2 officers in one incident is absolutely devastating. This event is the largest loss of life, police life, we have suffered in a single incident in many years. Despite police efforts, the matter was unable to be resolved peacefully, and all 3 offenders were fatally shot by specialist officers. An ethical standards investigation is underway into the police response with oversight from the CCC. In total, 6 people have lost their lives.
Greek MEP Eva Kaili has denied involvement in an alleged bribery scandal involving World Cup host Qatar at the European Parliament. She is one of 4 suspects charged. MEPs have voted by 625 to 1 to strip Ms Kaili of her role as one of its 14 vice presidents. Belgian police released a photo showing piles of notes. Reports said it added up to €1.5 million. Parliament leader Roberta Metsola has spoken of difficult days for European democracy. Qatar has denied any wrongdoing.
Whether it is tightening of our rules, whether it is inquiring further, whether it is looking at the influence of certain third countries, we will not stop and leave no stone unturned. Our internal investigation will look at what has happened and how our systems can be made more watertight. Our house is on the side of the law.
The Bahamas Attorney General has said Sam Bankman-Fried, founder of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX, has been arrested. He is scheduled to appear in a court in the Caribbean country's capital, Nassau. Police said Mr. Bankman-Fried was arrested for financial offences against laws in the US and the Bahamas. Last month, FTX filed for bankruptcy in the US, leaving many users unable to withdraw their funds. According to a court filing, FTX owed its 50 largest creditors almost $3.1 billion. More than 200,000 Somalis are suffering catastrophic food shortages and many are dying of hunger, with that number set to rise to over 700,000 next year. That's according to analysis by an alliance of UN agencies and aid groups. The Integrated Food Security Phase classification, which sets the global standard for determining the severity of food crises, said its most acute level had been temporarily averted, but things were getting worse. Somalia's last famine in 2011 killed 250,000 people, half of them before famine was officially declared. Drone footage shows a long queue of migrants near El Paso along the US-Mexico border. About 1,500 people crossed the Rio Grande overnight from Mexico into El Paso. The US border has seen a sharp rise in migrants crossing in recent months. Authorities in the US are preparing for a further rise in migrants as COVID-era laws expire. Future generations of New Zealanders will be banned from purchasing tobacco as part of a package of new anti-smoking laws passed through Parliament, which are among the strictest in the world. The suite of new laws include bans on selling tobacco to anyone born on or after January 1st, 2009. The legislation will also reduce the amount of nicotine allowed in smoked tobacco products. ACT New Zealand, which holds 10 out of 120 seats in Parliament, condemned the law, saying it would kill off small shops and force people onto the black market. And BTS members have posted a goodbye message for their oldest member, Jin, who left for mandatory military service. Their official Twitter account shared a message saying, "Goodbye, big bro, we love you," along with photographs of their last gathering. Jin, who turned 30 on December the 4th, had postponed the start of his service for the maximum possible time. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks a lot, Simon. Time for sports news. Here's Victor Matthias.
Thank you, Marachi, and welcome to Sports News. Now, Argentina is one win away from winning the 2022 FIFA World Cup after beating Croatia 3-0 in the semi-final. Captain Lionel Messi produced a stunning performance in the last 4 tie, scoring a penalty and setting up Argentina's last goal as they crushed Croatia. Julian Alvarez was also on target twice as he helped the Albiceleste move one step closer to winning the title. Argentina will face either France or Morocco, who play in Wednesday's semi-final. A Moroccan head coach Walid Regragui says his side has no specific plans to deal with the danger of Kylian Mbappe as France's attack poses too many individual threats to just concentrate on one person. Morocco go into Wednesday's semi-final looking to add France to an impressive list of scalps at the tournament, but needing to get players fit in time after the exertions of their 5 games in the competition. Morocco are struggling with injuries, with concerns over the first-choice centre-back pairing of skipper Romain Saïss and Naïf Aguerd in particular.
We don't know now. You have Mazraoui, he's sick. Aguerd is injured. Now Saïss is injured. Hakimi, he begins the competition. He feel bad, but he fight every game he's here. But what I said, every day you win something and you lose someone. But I have 26 players, and if you want to win this competition, you need to believe on everybody.
As a little boy, I could have never ever dreamt of something like this. I know every single player wants to play. There's not one football player in the world that doesn't want to play football, and of course, sitting on the bench is not a nice thing.
Meanwhile, on the flip side, France coach Didier Deschamps admits the reigning champions will go into Wednesday's game against Morocco with the utmost respect for their giant-killing opponents as they prepare for a hostile reception from the Maghreb side supporters. The French fans will be largely outnumbered by the Moroccan supporters at the Al Bayt Stadium, and Le Bleu know that they will be jeered and whistled throughout. He says the backing of their fans has been given Morocco, the first African side in the World Cup last 4, extra energy as they beat Belgium, Spain and Portugal on their way to the semi-finals, but France will be ready. And a Spanish court has acquitted Brazil soccer star Neymar and other defendants in a fraud and corruption case over his 2013 transfer to Barcelona from Santos after prosecutors had dropped all charges in the high-profile trial. The suit had been brought by Brazilian investment firm DIS, the owner of 40% of the rights to Neymar when he was at Santos. DIS argued it had lost out on a cut from the transfer because its true value was understated and sought a 5-year jail term for Neymar and a total fine of 149 million euros for the defendants. And that's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching. It's back to Amarachi with the wrap of the news at 10.
Thank you, Victor. And the main news again. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi today wooed voters in Lokoja, the Kogi state capital, where he vowed to unite and secure the nation and increase the minimum wage with emphasis on moving Nigeria from consumption to production. Also today, the PDP's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar took his campaign to Jos, promised to ensure that peace returns to Plateau State if he is elected in 2023. And presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu, today said his administration would tackle banditry, kidnapping and other violent crimes if elected president in 2023. Mr. Tinubu spoke during a rally in Kaduna State. That's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.